Have you ever heard of the first Yugi structure deck? This is Yugi Volume 1, and though it was printed in the early 2000s, it is to date one of the most concise Yu-Gi-Oh products to ever come out, somehow finding a way to bridge a gap between Duelist Kingdom, early Battle City, and playability. There are a few different versions of this deck, the rarest being the common cover card variant, which I was fortunate to find sealed earlier this year when I visited Tokyo. Shout out to Fuku Fuku. Anyway, the cover card here is Beast of Guildford, which at the time was a fairly new card. Remember, this deck was released pre-Battle City Finals, and though the holo cover cards are more on brand for Yugi and arguably cooler, Beast of Guildford at the time was mega hyped by Konami, featuring on the pamphlet of the deck and even the box art itself, really bringing home the point that this deck is a time capsule of a Yu-Gi-Oh era very much long gone. And nothing drives that point home more than the absolute insanity that is this deck list. As a kid from the West, seeing all of these cards in one deck lineup blew me away. This was the King of Games deck in an era where that was unthinkable. There were two ultra rares, both of which were retrains of classic Duelist Kingdom cards. Retraining was still a very much new concept back then, while Dark Magician Girl comes super rare in her alternate artwork. And she's just the tip of the iceberg. This deck is truly a love letter to Yugi's magician-esque archetype, coming with not one, but two separate common Dark Magicians, along with any card that had some loose connotations to the Dark Magicians, including the original artwork of Spellbinding Circle, which is sick. But nothing truly beats the real reason I was obsessed with this deck as a child, the common print of Magician of Black Chaos. I remember being in second grade and seeing this card for the first time and being completely blown away. I don't know what it is, it just looks really good in common. It's crazy that in the early era of Yu-Gi-Oh! You could own all three Magicians from one deck. But the Yugi structure deck goes much deeper than that, having a very rich pool of monsters that the Magicians are just a small fraction of. Chimera's line is in here with, of course, Polymerization, along with Buster Blader, but sadly this is pre-Dark Paladin. But in its place, you get all three Magnet Warriors and, of course, Valkyrion, the Magna Warrior, as a common. In the early 2000s, when all of these monsters were on everyone's want list, they found a way to make it work, while bridging the gap with the completed arc of Duelist Kingdom. And believe me, all of the classics are here, even the not-so-memorable ones. But this deck is more than a love letter to the manga and anime, rather showcasing Konami's dedication and craftsmanship in making a playable version of Yugi's deck, which granted at the time meant let's just throw a bunch of really OP staples in, but still. Like genuinely, that is so much draw power in one deck. And somehow the whole thing just feels homogenized in an era well before the archetype. Also, the original Ultimate Offering is in here with the OG artwork, which is pretty sick. But this all leads me to how they connect all these cards together, and it lies in the Earth attribute of monster. And I'm not gonna lie, for the time, it's a pretty genius maneuver. So many of Yugi's early monsters happen to be Earth attribute. You throw a couple Gaia powers in there and some giant rats for searching, and you have an engine. Then some backup soldiers for some weak monster recovery, and maybe one or two fun flip monsters for the memes, and you have yourself a really powerful deck wrapped up into one product. And that is why Yugi Volume 1 is one of the best Konami products ever made, allowing you in the early era of Yu-Gi-Oh! To play as the King of Games in a way that actually makes sense. Guys, it doesn't get much better. If you can ever pick this up, I can't recommend it enough.